10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the NXT Round Up 2.0. It is me, the dad bod god himself, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight I am joined by my good friend, the voice of PWA, or one half of the voices of PWA, Andrew Rose. Rose, thank you for joining me this week on the NXT Round Up.
Piers, it's always a pleasure to be with you and talking wrestling with you. I'm fine with you calling me the voice of PWA. I can't see anyone else who could lay claim to being a voice of that company. It's pretty much just me. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But, I think your counterpart would probably say the same thing.
Oh, Chris. Oh, right. Yeah, him. Maybe there's an argument for him. But no, it's good to be here, man. It's good to talk about NXT with you. I always enjoy talking wrestling with you, mate.
Oh, absolutely, man. Same here with you. But before we get started, let's just take a quick second to thank some of those amazing people that help us keep these shows going. Our sponsors, first up, is Sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, Sleefs.com. If you or someone you know is an athlete, this is the place you need to go and check out, guys. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, headbands, knee bands, socks, boots, mouth guards. They've even got dirty boxes. And I have to say, I always say this, they've sent me so many pairs of these dirty boxes, Rose. They are the most comfortable boxes I own. I actually turfed out all my other shit. This is the only boxes that I wear. They stay dry, they stay comfortable, they stay fresh, and they've got funky designs on the front of them, to keep the wife entertained when the lights go out at the end of the night. But guys, check out sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount at your final purchase. But guys, also while you're checking stuff out, check out healthvape.com. If you're one of those filthy smokers or vapor people thing that chuck clouds up like I do, then you need to check out healthvape.com. This is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals, and they're vitamin infused. So make sure you go check out some of their vape and pod products. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount at your final purchase. But Rose, we've also at MWA, we've got some amazing shows like Killing the Business, Nights of the Gimmick Table, Shooting the Shit. We really have shows for pretty much every kind of wrestling fan here, and pretty much the top. We're trying to aim to be the top in the world of pro wrestling multimedia and stuff out there. But, you're no stranger to the MWA Podcast Network. You've been on my show, Shooting the Shit. I think three times, actually, once with Chris and twice on yourself. So it's an honor to have you here in a different, a different role, so to speak. It's kind of like as a co-host role tonight. So I'm really excited to get into it. But how we sort of start off the show is like we start off with just sort of talking about the overall show, and then we'll break it down. But overall, like, what was your thoughts on the show? Were you impressed? Were you not impressed? Like, what were your overall feelings about the show?
Well, I was happy to be watching this show. Admittedly, I haven't watched weekly NXT television for a couple of months, pretty much since 2.0 started. And that's not a protest choice or anything like that. It was just a victim of my other work. I was traveling quite a lot, so I just didn't get to watch the show. So I would tune in at points to see people that were close to me succeed in the company. We're always watching and cheering them on, the Aussies. But this was a good opportunity for me to watch an entire NXT show. So what was interesting to me was I got to see a lot more time with some of the characters I've heard, like, you guys talk about on this show, and see them in action. So it was a good experiment for me. I liked it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I think this week's show overall, like, I was impressed. I enjoyed it, and we speaking off air, and I said sometimes I feel with NXT it can be hit and miss as an overall show. That's not a diss on any of the performers. I just think certain ways how the production is set out, they do themselves many favors with that, because I kind of go, all right, I mean, I've seen like the 5th vignette in a row. Like, I mean, like, I get we have to see character building, but you also need to see in-ring action. And when you've got 90 minutes of TV time and you have 2 matches on a card, that's where I go, that's a bit,
Right. So it's like it's more of a content level, which is hard to juggle. But I think what's interesting about NXT, I guess I've always had more time or more patience and been more forgiving with NXT, because it is the place of development. It is the place where you're trying a lot of stuff that we've seen hasn't. We're more forgiving as fans when things don't work in NXT, I think, because the show really is, let's just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And so when I watch a show and there's not as much wrestling and more character vignette stuff, I don't necessarily balk at it as much as I would a main wrestling show or an indie wrestling show, because they're very clear and open about NXT is about developing not just their wrestling, but also their characters. And we're going to try and our best to do that. And like this show's a good example, because not all the characters grabbed me. And there's some that I was like more into after watching them. So yeah,
and that's the beauty about, well, that's the beauty about pro wrestling, because everything is subjective to different eyes. What you like, I might not like, and vice versa. And that's what's beautiful about pro wrestling. And I agree with you. NXT is the development brand, and a lot of WWE fans will say NXT is the 3rd brand, and I've always said no, it's not. It's not even close. And I turn around and simply say, do you think Johnny Gargano on NXT at the time is earning the same money as, let's say, an AJ Styles? Not even, you know what I mean? Like, or a Dolph Ziggler, or anyone on the main roster. It's not even close. And that's how you really measure it. Really, it's like, you can call it a 3rd brand, but at the end of the day, they're not getting the exposure. They're not getting as much eyes on them as what a Raw and a SmackDown is, and they're performing, at a different level. Like, not a different level, but it's definitely like a disconnect. Like, I don't see NXT as a 3rd brand. I do see it as a development program, where I think bringing some like veterans into it, like they did with AJ Styles and Grayson, is a good idea, because it gives these guys, okay, have one of your top guys from Raw or SmackDown come down, work with a Grayson Waller in a couple of weeks in promos and a match. And then that elevates Grayson Waller to another level. And it also gives AJ to say, hey, you know what, this guy has what it takes, and then he can then be like almost like a spokesman for that person. But I suppose that it could also be a detriment for an NXT talent getting that experience and it not going well. But I see more positive than a negative, really.
Well, the idea of NXT is actually quite genius in a world that's based around sports but is entertainment, because what you've done is you've built a small pond, right? So the small pond allows you to bring experienced athletes, like you said, from WWE over, and they become a big deal. They even talked about it this week with the talk of Dolph Ziggler maybe flying around. So suddenly Dolph Ziggler becomes an interesting concept as a big fish in that small pond. But then we've also seen time and time again that developmental talents will get to the large brands in front of huge crowds on national television, and the character doesn't stick because there hasn't been time for them to learn the character. And that small pond will help those smaller wrestlers not feel like they're drowning immediately. I think creating a college football system in a world of professional wrestling is actually a genius move, because it allows you to make mistakes. It allows you to fall over. And then it also allowed WWE to do one of the most important things they've done in the last decade, which is bringing women's wrestling up to where it should be. And NXT was the place where they could do that and build it from underneath. And suddenly the whole company was affected. So, yeah, I think NXT is an amazing thing, because it allows for so much different storytelling.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with what you're saying there. And, the first match on the card for the show was Imperium versus Diamond Mine. I'm a huge, like, I really enjoy Diamond Mine's work. I think Malcolm Bivens is, phenomenal. I think he's bringing the manager back into pro wrestling. You're starting to see that. And, obviously another manager, Robert Stone, which I've got notes to talk about later, but Malcolm Bivens is just so on the money. Like, even when you see him walking to the ring, he's like not stopping. He's just talking. He's 100 mile a minute. And that's the sort of guy as the mouthpiece for them. And I've always said Diamond Mine should, like, all the other like members just shouldn't talk. Just have him be the complete mouthpiece. It gives them more credibility as the strong silent killers. And he's like the Don King, sort of like, I'm going to take these guys to the top of the mountain type of deal. But Imperium versus Diamond Mine, this match to me was probably the match of the night. It was a great technical match. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because like I really enjoy technical wrestling, but to the average, I want to say the average fan, but sort of not your regular fan, could they sit down and watch a technical wrestling match and enjoy it as much as what we can to sit down and enjoy it?
That's a good question. Firstly, I'll say hello to all the familiar faces I'm seeing in the chat here. A lot of cool people tuning in. Hello to you all. Now I'm lost because I said hello to everyone. Ask the end of that question again. I always do that.
I said, like, we're both fans of, like, we can enjoy technical wrestling, right?
Oh,
but
right, yes.
Like, the non-average fan, can they sit there and watch a match that we watched with Diamond Mine and Imperium, which was kind of very technical?
Yeah, damn, that's a good question. Even the second time you asked me it, but yeah, it is harder for a fan, I think, because I'm clearly a narrative guy, right? I love the story and the drama and stuff, and anyone who's heard Chris and I do the commentary for PWA will know that we love that emotion to it. But a match like this actually made me feel like old school NXT. Like, I haven't watched NXT a lot since the Black and Gold. This felt like a Black and Gold match. There's a lot of pretty straightforward characters that were just beating the hell out of each other. It was really technical. It was really like a showcase of what independent, stronger style, technical wrestling can be. It was really weird because of watching this first match. I'm like, man, just feels like old NXT. It's just dudes beating the crap out of each other. So I think another thing that NXT did was exposed casual fans to that kind of stuff, like the Gunthers of the world, of like, they can just beat the crap out of people. And this was a classic beat the crap out of people match. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, I completely think it was as well. I think these guys absolutely destroyed each other. What did you see the back chop that Walter did to break up the 3 count? I had to actually rewound that bit because at first I was like, what a lazy way to break up a 3 count. Like, but then I went back and I'm just like, no, actually, you know what? That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I dug it.
I actually rewound it as well, but for a different reason, because I was looking away at that moment at something. And I'll give it to the commentator, because we're going to have a rocky road with the commentators in this show, but I'll give it to him on this point, is that his reaction was so like visceral, like, oh, when that happened, it made me look up and look back, and I was like, wait, what did I miss? And I rewound and watched it and went, oh, geez. So props to the commentators there, because they just it was a very natural reaction, I felt.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I get the feeling with the Creed brothers, they just both remind me of like mini Brock Lesnar's. And I don't mean mini as in a disrespectful term, as in size, because they're fucking units. But like, they just look like young Brock Lesnar's that, like, you've got two of like a very similar pedigree to a Brock Lesnar, probably not to the level of what he had. But still two guys that look that part and look like they can be, absolute killers in the ring. I think they're going to be one of the top tag teams in WWE in the next 12 months.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll say there's a couple of people that could look like young Brock Lesnar's, but we'll get to Harlan later. But the Creed brothers, I'd heard a lot about the Creed brothers. I heard crowds going for them and people talking about them, and I'd never really. This is the first kind of full match of theirs I'd watched, and I get it now. Yeah, for sure. Even their promo later in the show, I was like, these guys are really good. I don't know. I like the bigger guy. What was his name again? I can't remember their names, but he had a great
Brutus and Julius.
Brutus. I liked Brutus. He's got that real kind of linebacker vibe about him.
Yeah. Just a boy. You know what I mean? Like just just an absolute unit. But
Steiner Brothers vibe.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, like WWE and tag team wrestling just has always been so hot and cold. Like they'll throw coals on it, and it's like, okay, our go-to match is going to be the Usos versus the New Day for the 50th time. You know what I mean? And I think that, like, you know, you've got a couple of good tag teams in NXT. You've got, like, even in the women's teams as well. I think that they can really do a lot with it if they just give it a little bit of the right nurturing and booking. But I think Imperium and Diamond Mine, as I said, like, I think that they stole the show in my eyes. Yeah, I thought it was a solid match. It wasn't rushed at all. It felt like it was just very not well planned out as in set, but it just seemed like a very cruisy match, very technical, not rushed. They took their time with it, and I really enjoyed it.
Everyone thing was is on point too. Everyone was on point.
Yeah, like there was no one looked out of place in that match. The only thing I'm going to say is, Gunther, what the fuck? The name change to me, I still can't get over it. I think how they even gave him the name change, they should have just had him come in and just no sell it. Now he's Gunther. Like, just no sell him as Walter. Don't call him Walter for the whole show. Then he's like, I'm now Gunther. See ya. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I think that the way they went about it was just average.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't like to admit it, but I did actually watch some of your episode with Chris last week. Don't tell him I said that, but I actually quite liked something he said about, identity is really fluid in wrestling, and people chop and change all the time. And even though we see Grayson Waller, who we will talk about later in this show, killing it over there, he'll always be Matty Wahlberg to me. And I remember him as that, but I'm not unhappy that he's now Grayson Waller. The evolution is part of what we do. So I actually agree with Chris, and it's not often that I do, that I'm actually fine with it. If they want to do it, if they wanted to present it as it was his choice, which I think is what they were trying to do, then that's fine. What did take me out of this match was the crowd chanting Walter. I have to admit it, that, like, okay, we get it. You know that he's Walter. And, like, sometimes the NXT crowd, for the 9 steps forward they take as an amazing audience, can go 1 step backwards with some of the over the top stuff. And I was just like, you don't need to do, we all know, can we just move on? And I mean, you love the guy. It's the same dude. You've loved him he was match of the year last week. Now he's Gunther, and you don't like, it's fine. He's Gunther now. You'll be over it in a month.
And the thing is as well, like, I've seen some dirt sheets reporting that the name Gunther is like some former Nazi leader and stuff.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like,
it's ridiculous. It's a name.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the exactly thing. But look, to me, I just think that I didn't see the reason to change his name, but I also didn't see the logic in how they did it. But that's just my opinion. As we said, wrestling subjective across the board, so we can all have those beautiful opinions.
I will agree with you, though. It was kind of out of nowhere. As a fan, we're like, what? Like, there might be a decision backstage that was the right thing to do, or they're planning to do, or it's something to do with copyright or what they could own or whatever. But to us, I'll agree with you there. We were just like, what? Oh, okay. Gunther. Okay. It was sudden.
Robbo in the chat says exactly the same thing, like chanting Husky Harris and Bray Wyatt. Like, oh, you're a smart mark. We get it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's the thing. You can't change the fans and the audience. And I think that's why, like, I think a lot of fans that do attend those shows, a small group of them, they get it started. Everyone else joins in, and then you've got that situation as what they saw, you know, and it's hard to censor your audience.
Yeah. And it's a smaller room too, so they can get across, a smaller group of people can get across what they want to get across. But I've just never been for hijacking shows. Like, I get that you pay your ticket and you can do what you want, but you're hurting other people's experience by not just being part of it. Yeah.
Like, but that's the thing, you've got a great match like that, just let them fucking work and enjoy it. And, you know what I mean? Like, it just, that takes away from matches.
Yeah. And ultimately the match was so good it didn't matter. So it's fine in this case. And I think time will heal all the wounds of, it's change. It's just what wrestling is.
100%, brother.
Yeah.
But we saw an LA Knight promo after that. Let me ask you this: LA Knight, do you get a feeling like I'm not sure if you heard this, but I heard Mark Henry a few months ago make the thing that he's very much like The Rock. He's pretty much accusing LA Knight of stealing The Rock's mannerisms, everything like that. I didn't think too much of it, but as I'm seeing more and more of his promos, I don't know if it's intentionally like trying to imitate The Rock or if he's looking for like, motivation or whatever it is from The Rock and taking little bits from it. But you see him even when he was walking to the ring and like him standing there having the interaction with Gacy and Haaland, it was just like the hand movements and stuff like that, very similar to how The Rock would conduct himself in a backstage promo and how he walks himself to the ring with the head movements and stuff like that. Do you see those similarities?
Yeah, I do. I'm with you as well. I'm not sure where it's come from and where he's developed it and stuff, but it's not necessarily in the mannerisms for me, but it is in the cadence of how he speaks. So when he goes into LA Knight mode, there is a kind of structuring of his sentence that takes me back to Hollywood Rock. And I don't know if that's just similar to a musical artist that just grew up with an artist that they looked up to and their music has generally gone in that direction. And he's just influenced by that showboat confidence and has taken his own spin. I guess it's subjective, up to where everyone to decide. It didn't take me out of it, but there was a moment in this exact promo you're talking about where I was like, it's very The Rock there. But not necessarily in a bad way. It's just like, interesting. And I think he does enough different with it.
I saw it when he was saying, how about this? How about you and your little dog to go out to the ring and I'll have two more? And you know what I mean? And that's where I was like, and that when he was doing the fingers and doing that, whereas that to me was like, oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. The pointing.
You know what I mean? That was one of the things that really sort of stood out to me. But I think he's an amazing performer. I think he's an amazing promo. I think he's great in ring.
Oh, awesome. I'm a fan of LA Knight. Yeah.
Like, there's no different of anyone who seeks, like, as you said, a musician who gets inspiration from an older band or an older artist or whatever it may be. I think that he makes it his own enough that it's not like it's a complete Rock ripoff, but you can see the links there. But I thought the interaction with Gacy and Haaland was really good. How Gacy's like, hey, like maybe I can help you, like I helped Haaland, and I thought it was a good sort of intro to that's the way that we're going to have a match tonight and how it's going to go down.
I'm sure we can get more into that later, but Gacy was one of those characters going into this that I was like, I hadn't spent much time with, and I'd seen photos and I'd seen the debut of Haaland and the beatdown and stuff, but not full interactions. And it was like, all right, like this guy's weird. Like he's smiling and it's full on.
His gimmick is almost like, and this is what it is. It's making fun of the woke culture. It's making fun of cancel culture. Like very much in his promos, you'll see he's like, he will sit there and drop little things. He's like, because we may have to make sure that my little snowflakes don't get upset. And then he's like saying things like, what was as well, like when he had the cruiserweight title, is like, this is not an inclusive championship belt because you're saying that, you're body shaming heavier people. You're not allowing women to fight for the title. So you're not inclusive of women. You're not inclusive of body shame. You know what I mean? Of a cruiserweight championship belt. And, the way he did it, he is a phenomenal performer. I've watched Gacy for years. On the US independents, he's a former Combat Zone Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. He's also former tag team champions with Eddie Kingston for I think it was Evolve. Amazing performer. I think that this character, you can really see he's really emerging himself into it, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's interesting hearing you talk about him because, like, my take was this is a psychopath who has found wokeness as a cover. So almost like he's spurting off a bunch of catchphrases and stuff that keeps him safe from any kind of ridicule. But really, he's just a psycho. Like Behind
I
his
get
eyes, I just see pure chaos.
I see the more we see of him, the more we're going to unveil behind the character of it, and I can see where you're going with that. I first saw it and I was like, please don't be Bray Wyatt 2.0. You know what I mean? That was my thing. It was like, please don't be Bray Wyatt 2.0. But I get the vibe he's more of like a Charles Manson of the 2000, you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing, like with the peace and like, you know, having Haaland as his follower. And if you could see him getting like, you know, a stable of people that sort of just follow him around, you know what I mean? Like I could see him being like that cult type of leader. And that's where like I thought that they'll think that they're going to go with him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the classic trope of a sociopath is someone who learns all the right things to say and then weaponizes them against other people. So to me, that's what I got in my psychologist brain was, oh, this guy's saying what everyone thinks needs to be said for him to look like he's part of everything that's going on, but really he just wants people to viciously hurt people for him. It's classic cult leader. Where do I sign up? I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm part of it.
Absolutely, man.
Is there bunk beds? Let's go.
Let's go. Let's team up. We'll do it. But next we saw a Toxic Attraction promo. You know, Mandy Rose, I think, has been at the top of her game. And you mentioned Dolph Ziggler, if he was to go to NXT being the big fish in a small pond. That's what I think Mandy Rose is now. Like she went up to the main roster. She had some good storylines, some good stuff, but nothing that was really, I find, like besides the Otis Love thing, which I think was a little bit whatever, but yeah, I know it's like one for the fat guys, right? So, but hey, I can say that. I can say it, but you know, I think that this is really her moment to shine and has been her moment to shine. She came in, and I think she is that big fish in the small pond here. And I think having her as the champion, I'd be keeping the belt on her for a very, very long time and making her like, I don't want to say like the Ric Flair or Triple H of the NXT women's division, but having her like that role as the gatekeeper of that and giving her a lengthy reign, because I think that she's definitely going to be able to elevate a lot of the other females coming up, like a Cora, Jade, stuff like that, because Mandy's been at the top. She's had embarrassing moments on pay-per-view and stuff like that, where I think that she could be someone who's really beneficial to some of the younger talent coming up through there, but also build her character up where she could probably go on after her title, when she does drop the title, and be a top contender for a Charlotte Flair or a Becky Lynch and be a believable top contender, because by the time she went to NXT, you know what I mean, if she was in a title match, it's like there's no way you believe her as a threat to the title.
Yeah, I think NXT has been amazing for Mandy Rose, and Toxic Attraction are great to me. I think they're the new idea of the Undisputed Era, where they've taken a bunch of people, put them together, they're stronger together, and you could actually do what I think they were probably originally planning to do with Undisputed Era, which is take them as a package, give them all the belts. They can, but by the end of this run, they could help a tag team shine and a main woman shine in the company. And you can take that package, Toxic Attraction, and just launch it the Monday night straight after WrestleMania on Raw, and it shakes everything up. Everyone knows already in the big pond who Mandy Rose is. She's gone away and completely changed. If you don't watch NXT and she comes back with this crew, everything, it's on. Like she can go to the top, and she's learned how to become a champion and hold herself as a champion and defend her title as a champion. I think it's been amazing for her. I have a bit of trivia for you, because I have a theory here, because we like how the WWE names are sometimes created out of two themes, like Apollo Crews as the first last name.
Yeah.
Gigi Dolan, right? So I think I have a theory where the name Gigi Dolan comes from. This is a little fact for some of your viewers here. So Gigi Allen is clearly the first name, who was a very controversial shock punk lead singer who did some very controversial things on stage. Gigi Allen. Yeah. But Dolan,
he died like young.
Sorry?
He died very young. Like he was like in his 40s or something.
Yeah, he was crazy. He was crazy. So yeah, he was on a full speed into a wall in his life, Gigi Allen. So I think Gigi comes from Gigi Allen, but Dolan is an interesting one. I think that comes from one of the most famous skateboarders in the world, who's a very punk skateboarder, the whole punk hair and everything. His name's
Yeah.
Dustin Dolan, and he's from Australia. He's an Australian punk skateboarder, and I think that's where she got the reference from. Is Gigi Dolan? It's two very punky icons in music and sport.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool and that's a pretty cool thought, man. I wonder if that actually is correct.
I hope I'm right. One day you get to interview Gigi Dolan and you can ask her that question for me. Are you named after the great Dustin Dolan?
100%.
The other question I would ask her is, what the hell is up with the music? Can I ask what Toxic Attraction's music is about?
Yeah, you know what? Like, to be honest, when Gigi Dolan and JC Jane debuted before that, and they had like, it was almost like a different version of Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams. Like it was a fucking dope track, right?
Yeah,
it was sick. Like it was, yeah. And then like this one, I think it's to make them more sexualized. I think that's what they do with NXT. Like there were certain points in the show where, and they've started to do that with NXT, like almost dip their toe in, going from a PG show to a little bit more of a risque show. And they're starting to do stuff like that. So I think it's probably to more sexualize them. Like you see how they're coming out and Jane's like dancing like really awkwardly.
Hey,
like
I'm fine with all of that. But normally when you hear an entrance song in WWE or any kind of related product, you can hear the reference they're trying to go for, right? Oh, they're trying to reference this song. I don't get what the reference is. Buck Hunter main menu music. Like it just sounds so generic rock that it's something you'd walk past in a pub on the way to the men's room. Like I was just like, what is this? We got to do better than this.
To me, this is the point of the show, Rose, where I feel it lost me. And I'm gonna get there to the end. So this whole thing with like Toxic Attraction are out there. They're announced, okay, they're gonna put the titles on Vengeance Day against Indy and Persia. Great. Kaylee Ray comes out with a bat. She starts hammering around, kicks the fuck out of everybody. Good back and forth, promo between, Mandy and KLR going back and forth. And then, next thing you know, we're seeing Toxic Attraction leaving the arena. Dolan and Jane get in the car, finishing off a promo. She's not good, goes to get in the car, can't get in. This is one of the things I just sit there and go, I know it's wrestling, but fuck, come on. That's just it. Like, that's just retarded.
Okay, now come on. This is airtight. What's your problem with it?
Okay, puts the window down. Kaylee Ray's there, drives off, steals the car, kidnaps two people. So we're talking like grand theft larceny, kidnapping, and like no one's like going, hey, maybe we should call the cops. Like maybe this employee that we have, Kaylee Ray, is a little bit fucking unhinged. No. She just assaulted three people with a fucking bat.
No, she just went for a drive. She didn't know they were in the back. She just went for a drive. She just took what she thought was a staff car. It's just a coincidence. And of course they can't get out of the back. There's child locks in those big SUVs, right? So she's obviously bumped the child lock and not realized they're in the back. Look, I don't know, but I don't think it's illegal. I think she just went for a joyride. This is Kaylee Ray on her Stone Cold rampage. So Kaylee Ray decided to just Stone Cold all over this show. So there was a lot of her chasing Booker T, Mandy Rose around the place, beating her up. I like Kaylee Ray. Her promos are quite fun and aggressive. She kind of pulls it off. I did like when she said, I was the champion for 649 days. She said it so aggressively. I loved it. But yeah, we got a lot of this through the show, and I agree with you that a lot of it didn't work. She should have watched more Seth Rollins about how to get a title match. Just put Edge under a chair and threaten to stomp on it. It's that easy. Just
simple.
Yeah. Yeah, if only William Regal was around to threaten with that baseball bat, we would have got a match in 10 minutes.
Oh, fuck, where's Edge when you need him? But, yeah, look, like we saw that, and later on, in the show, we saw them. The only thing is like that. Kaylee Ray left, so she's fucked off from the arena, and then you've seen like Mandy Rose. Oh, okay, blah blah blah, whatever. Like my friends have just been kidnapped, my car's just been jacked, whatever. And then next thing you know, like she's bursting through the door, falling on some dude. Kaylee Ray's chasing with her a bat. I'm like, didn't she just fucking leave like, I don't know, like 30 minutes beforehand? Like, what's
she's
going
clearly
on?
she's clearly popped it in cruise control. Opened the door and just done one of those forward rolls out as it drifts into a field, and then she's run back into the arena taking the bat with her. So, I wish you could have seen that because it's a masterful move. But yeah, I think the thinking there was that Kaylee Ray was trying to like, I'll kidnap your cronies. Maybe that'll make you agree. No, well now they're out of the picture. You got no one to hide behind. But the one upside of all this is that it got us opportunities to like collide with other characters, as we'll see later in the show. I thought that was fun.
Oh, absolutely. What do you think of Cora Jade versus Raquel Gonzalez?
Okay, so I get the idea behind the match. There's two people that a younger gun and then a very established ex-champion that are trying to convince her to be the partner. I get and love all that. Raquel Gonzalez, I'm a huge fan of. I think she's absolutely money, and they've been looking for that big next Latino star, and she's it. She's amazing. So I have no problem with her. Cora Jade, I like the idea of the younger, smaller underdog trying to fight up from underneath. It's great. It's classic wrestling. But I'm going to say something now that might get some people watching this a little bit annoyed. I talked a little bit before about Dustin Dolan, the famous skateboarder. I'm a diehard skateboarding fan. Yeah. Skateboarding and wrestling just makes me cringe so hard. And I mean that across the board, from Cora Jade riding in on a skinny board to Darby Allin jumping on someone's back with a skate. All of it makes me cringe so hard. And don't tell me Darby Allin's a real skateboarder because you've never seen him flip a board. As a skateboarder, that's offensive to me. He's not a real skateboarder. So it's just, I just find it really cringy, but I think it's because I'm so close to it that I know you're forcing a pop culture on me.
Did you see the Twitter exchange between Darby Allin and Cora Jade?
No, I don't use Twitter that much, but what happened?
So, I'll bring it up because it's word for word what she said. But it was basically, so what happened was she said it like Darby Allin said, I'm not just, hold on a second. Here it goes. Skating is a huge part of my life, not a fake character for TV, he put on Twitter. And then Cora Jade respond was, being a good person with no abuse allegations against me is a huge part of my life and not just the character I play on TV.
All right, got real quickly. But yeah. Look, going back to the skateboarding. Whoa. Okay, that's a response. I'll leave that there. But going back to the skateboarding thing, I don't doubt that he's a big skateboarding fan. I'm not going to gatekeep skateboarding. It's fine. But
sure,
I love skateboarding. You don't just see me sitting at the commentary desk with a skateboard on my shoulder, like, hey, I love this thing. But I get it. But to me, it's just really cringy. It's like riding a BMX bike to the ring. It'd be the same thing. It's like, why? Yeah. Why are you doing that? But I'm obviously not the target audience for that, so I get it. I'm a real, people probably see the ball. We used to see Fandango as ballroom dancers. Go, that doesn't look anything like a ballroom dancer. So
yeah, the ballroom community was in and out.
What he didn't even pivot toe ball plie. Like he doesn't even know how to ballroom dance. Like, that's what it sounds like right now. But to me, I just find it really cringy. So I was just like, it's so hello, fellow kids to me.
It's almost like Dynamic Dudes 2.0, right?
Yeah.
But look, I thought the match was okay. I agree with you about Raquel Gonzalez. I think she is, absolutely. She has an amazing look. She's unique. She doesn't look like the other women on the roster on any part of Raw, SmackDown, or NXT UK. Wherever it is, she has a unique look. Did you notice that during this match, the screen went black a few times?
The broadcast?
Yes.
Yes, I did notice that.
Okay. Raquel Gonzalez had a wardrobe malfunction 3 times. And one of the things was they came back and was said apparently backstage was they were fuming because she was wearing something she shouldn't have been wearing in the ring, like the top. And it's like, oh fuck. All right, you know what I mean? Like, fair enough. Like, I don't know. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the cleavage. But yeah, like apparently that's what happened was they had a wardrobe malfunction. There was a little bit of heat on her after the show for her choice of wardrobe, but come on, she's can't be the one going, all right, guys, I'm just going to go out there, and no one's going to sit there and go, no, that shouldn't be, or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's always a shame when that stuff happens because it impedes their performance, and I sympathize with it because it's just so hard to sometimes with how elaborate their outfits can get. It's so difficult. I've seen it firsthand as well, and you just feel terrible when it happens because it's like, damn, it's a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like an
it's
embarrassing moment.
it takes me back to doing theater as well, like where someone's like wardrobe would malfunction, man or female, and you're just like, oh God, it's going to get in their head no matter what they do now. So yeah, I love Rose's justifications too. Thank you, Robert. They're all really justified and true. But yeah, Raquel Gonzalez, superstar. She'd be the Wonder Woman of WWE. She's likable as a big powerhouse as well, which is really hard to do. Her and Rhea both pull it off great. So
did you find
amazing future.
did you find in this match she was more heelish?
I feel like she can kind of dance it really well. Like she can
skirted that line a few times, I feel.
Yeah, she can get real serious and throw you through a wall and then turn and kind of smile. And you know, it's interesting because they I think they referenced her, they called her Big Mommy Cool during one of the commentators called her Big Mommy Cool, which I guess is a Big Daddy Cool Diesel reference, which kind of makes a lot of sense because Diesel could do that. He could murder you and then kind of smile afterwards and be kind of dancing that line all the time.
Yeah, like I definitely could see her more of a tweener. And at the end of it, yeah, now I'll tag with you. I beat the shit out of you. You took it, and now I'll tag with you. So
yeah,
I think it was a good wrestling, traditional storyline of, the underdog earning respect of the veteran or the bigger performer. And I think that Cora Jade sold her ass off in this match. I think as a performer, she's, underrated in a lot of ways. I think she definitely has a lot of talent. And you see the way when Cora Jade is in the ring, she takes the beating. And when she gets that surprise win, like the shock, the reaction to it, like she knows where the camera is. Like, I think she's very underrated as a performer. And I think in-ring wrestling style, she can sell better than pretty much anyone else on NXT in my eyes.
Yeah, she's awesome. It's clearly why she's got the spot. She's got the
and
talent.
being like 20?
How old is she?
20.
Oh my God. It's terrifying, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I heard yesterday that Rhea Ripley's like 25. It's like, get out of town. Are you kidding me?
It's ridiculous, man. Well, hey, you want to feel really like ridiculous? Paige? You know how old she is? She's not even 30.
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
that's true because she was like a child through the family.
She was
right?
like 18 when she was in there. Like she was in the system.
Way.
So. But look, moving on, we saw a Pete Dunn promo. His storyline with Tony D'Angelo. I kind of see this storyline. There's no benefit in this for Pete Dunn. I feel like Pete Dunn is at the level where you need to start moving him up or look at, I don't know, I don't want to say releasing him, but letting him explore options elsewhere, because I feel like his in-ring ability is on point. His promo is on point. His character is on point. Put him in that main event picture, for NXT, or move him up to the main roster. You know what I mean? Like, he's been around for a while. He's a young guy. Like, he's like 26, 27. And he's been around since he was like 22, 23. He's put on some amazing matches. He continues to put on amazing matches. I feel this feud, there's nothing to benefit him as a performer in. I think it's more to benefit Tony working with someone like a veteran like Pete Dunn, which is fair enough. Like, it has to be done. I just feel like Pete Dunn deserves a little bit more as a performer than what he's currently getting.
Yeah, Pete Dunn's great. Pete Dunn's amazing. He's always been awesome. And he's come a long way. Like, watching this promo here, the way he talked, the way he told what he was trying to say, it's a lot stronger than I've seen from him before. So I think he's getting stronger and stronger and improving even more. And the one thing I'll say about Pete Dunn, through the Triple H era of NXT, he was Triple H's favorite. You could tell, because there's shades of Triple H in Pete Dunn. It's a similar character. Triple H was very high on him very early. So I always felt like he'd had a very long career. There's no worry with Pete Dunn if he's in NXT for 5, even 10 years, because at some point he'll go up and succeed. That just he seems like so part of this system now because he's been through NXT UK and all of it. But now with Triple H not in control, this would be probably for me the biggest blow to what Triple H's influence has been with NXT. If Pete Dunne didn't work out into the main roster, it would be a real shame. Not saying he wouldn't succeed elsewhere and be great because Pete Dunne has developed, but I feel like he's even got even more to grow. And if he hits his, you said he's still in his 20s, right?
Yeah, he's like mid-20s. Yeah,
and again,
like,
terrifying. Like 31. Imagine what it would be like.
I feel if he got released from WWE, his best option would go to go over to New Japan. And I just think those matches, like his style of wrestling, and he would be like welcome open arms over there. Like the matches he could go and have with like a Jay White, Robbie Eagles, Tanahashi, like the list goes on and on the amazing matches he could have there. But I think he would go over there to be one of those amazing stars, like that finger snapping gimmick that he does. I reckon that would be like fucking over like Rover in Japan. And I get the feeling WWE probably look at him and go, he's probably a bit too small for the main roster. And like that's where like they're starting to go now back in that thing where they want big burly football, like American football player type of guys they're looking to sign. I have that feeling that Pete Dunne's days in WWE may be numbered. I hope I'm wrong because I think he does deserve a very long career there, but I do think that his days are numbered. And I think when they are, for him to go to New Japan will be like the resurrection of his career. Like, I think that will be the start of his career. I should say, not the resurrection. I think that would be like, he will be a massive star over there.
Yeah. If I was in the camp of WWE, I would say do everything in your power to keep him. Because he's a lifer, which is important to not just what you see on camera, but backstage as well. He seems like someone that has been taught a lot by Triple H on how to move forward in the industry. And so I just think he has a lot of tools that they could use, whether we go all the way to the main event and stuff. He reminds me of a bit of a Taz or even, excuse my language, Chris Benoit, that they could fill that gap and have that type of real scrappy Wolverine brawler killer again in WWE, which I don't really have at the moment. So there's a place for Pete Dunne, and I hope it does happen but also, your suggestion of New Japan's a great one, and wherever he would land, he would succeed. I mean, personally, I'd like to see him in the Coliseum tournament. But
I would too.
That's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. But next we saw Saray be repackaged and brought back out. Now, like Saray was someone they had where they basically had her to put other people over for quite a while, for months, like she was basically an enhancement talent. Now they seem to give her a bit more of a direction and pardon me, and a character. You're starting to see that come out, which I'm actually interested in. Like they're saying, like, and I think this is where we're talking about the commentary before. I think Wade Barrett turned around and said, no, it's about the inspiration from the medallion from his grandmother, because the other commentators are going, yeah, this medallion is magic and gives her this. And he's like, no, it's like how he corrected him without saying, no, you idiot. Like, this is what it is. He's like, yeah, well, it's actually this. And I was like,
yeah,
that was played.
It is an interesting question when you start doing almost magical type characters, which we've experienced before with Undertaker and The Fiend and many others, is how do you address it in the world that it fits in? So when Hogan saw the Ultimate Warrior in the mirror, did the commentators see Ultimate Warrior in the mirror, or is it just Hogan that saw it? So the other thing about NXT is that learning process of like, how do you address someone who, in theory, transforms from a schoolgirl into a superhero? It's essentially a Sailor Moon character.
Yeah.
How do you put that into the real world of a combat sport? So it's interesting, like you said, to hear the struggle between, a hopeless romantic into the narrative, and then the ex-wrestler who's like, no, this is about combat. It's interesting because we don't have that. Chris and I are both dreamers, so we just get lost in the fun
story.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. So do I. I'm the same way. But we then saw a promo, Duke Hudson promo. solid promo.
Yeah.
I think it's a good direction and a new character change for him. They had him doing like the Pokemon gimmick, and it was like, what? Like, okay, you like to play cards? Cool, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, I was like, huh? Like, I don't get it. This gimmick now, like, you can see more of a darkness to it, and like the deliverance in how he was talking and how he delivered this promo. I thought it was solid. I thought it was great. And I think that I'm really going to look forward to seeing how this develops. I want to see more of this character develop.
It was interesting watching that promo at the beginning. It felt like one of those old gambling ads that you'd see on TV, like, oh, just one more big win is all I needed. I thought my life was on the felt, just playing the cards and da-da-da. But then I got out, my wife got me out. And then there's like shots of him with the family at a barbecue. And it's like, call this line now. It felt like one of those old Aussie ads. Like, oh, yeah. Yeah, he almost had me. I was like, yeah, maybe I should get my life in order. And he's like, nah, then I'm just gonna shave my head and bash everyone. And I was like, yeah.
Roll, brother.
I'm not gonna go to rehab. That's for quitters. I'm gonna shave my head and bash everyone. So it was an interesting promo because I wasn't as cold on the gambler guy, kind of suave, smart ass. I liked it, but they smartly kind of moved on from it. So see where he's gonna go, but it'd be interesting to see him go real dark and just come out like one of those emos from South Park, like full on like platform shoes and a long Matrix jacket, and he's got like piercings, and then Persia Prod is like, wow, he's gone all goth. I like this, and it's like, it goes from there.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be emo, he'd have to get like the fringe thing happening.
Oh yeah, that just grows in a week somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Vignettes.
It's like, where are you? Anyway. But yeah, look, I thought it was decent. We then saw a backstage interaction vignette, whatever you want to call it, between Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa. Now, the one thing I love about Tommaso Ciampa is like you can see like he's the good guy. He's there to be the partner of Breakker, but the whole time he's like this. He's looking at picking up the title, putting it on the shoulder, and even when he turns away, he's like, I need Breakker to remain champion. And then he looks at the title one more time and then turns slowly away. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like he shows the desire and how much he wants of that championship, but also the level of a human being that he is, of having this guy's back, of being a former champion, knowing you have that, the X on your back sort of thing. And, I can see the sort of character work on that. And I think that his performance in that and just that slight turn at the end of it, perfect.
So the question is, coming out of that, because that's a really great description of where Tommaso's head is. Is he saying to him, I want you to remain champion because when I win my belt back, I want to do it from you because you're the guy who took it off me. Is Tommaso helping him to help himself? Is the question there with like this, you're the champ now and it's hard to hold the belt and you should be able to, I want you to keep being the champion. But what he's not telling him is because I want to beat you back for that title. It's almost like there's a vindictiveness brewing inside Tommaso about it. Yeah. And the more he's nice about it, the more my instincts go, something's going. This is not Tommaso. He's mean to his mates. He's being nice to this guy. Do you know what I mean?
Keep your enemies closer, brother. That's how it is. But I think having Tommaso turn heel on Breakker is almost predictable. But like have him looking at that title like that's his desire. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what he was possessed about for so long, is like, and you see him still have that connection with that of that belt, wanting to be the champion. I'd like to see Breakker turn heel and just go, you know what I mean? Like really fucking do it. But the thing is, like, how do you turn Breakker heel while he's the champion? You know what I mean? Like it's,
it's the lengths he would go to hold it. So if he, he's won the he's won the championship early in his career, but the hardest thing is to hold it. If he has a short run, gets surprised or something, his temper could boil over the loss, or even just the extent that he's gone to hold the belt because he's learned from someone like Ciampa, who's done a lot of bad things to hold on to Goldie, as it's been mentioned in the comments there. But I think what we're getting at here is that Tommaso Ciampa should become the golem of NXT. He should just be like backstage going, "Precious, I need my Goldie," and everyone's like, "Ooh, Chubb has gone weird," and they'd all just like ignore him as he like salivates for the belt.
Just rocks back, just like someone throws him a replica, and he's just like,
Yeah,
precious.
he's written NXT on the wall in his own shit, and people are like, "Oh God, someone called Johnny Gargano."
Can someone get Johnny and Candace on the phone, please? Yeah. Thanks, Indy.
Yeah.
So, but it was a decent interaction. I am looking mindful of the time, but we saw Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams out there cutting a promo. These guys, man, they're very good on the mic. I'm going to give them that. But every week, to me, it just sounds like the same shit. I don't know what bowdy is. I'm not hip enough. I don't know what the fuck that means. But to be honest, I just find that their promos are just continually just the same thing on repeat. Like Carmelo said the same 2 or 3 sentences 3 times throughout the time he was out there. And that's including the time that he had the back and forth with Cameron Grimes or Grimes.
So if you're Grimy, hey Grimy, if you're stuck for time and worried about time in this, I could do this very simply for you. Carmelo Hayes, great talent. I've heard a lot of people talk about him. Cameron Grimes, amazing talent. A lot of people talking about him. These two are going to have a banger match for a title. This promo stunk. 2 great people who could do promos. Neither of them really landed any of the lines. It felt really corny. It went on way too long. The crowd was a bit lost on it, maybe where it was filmed or where it was placed in the show. The crowd was just a bit lost. The thing didn't work. Great talents. Let's just move on from it. Put a fork in it. That promo didn't work.
Yeah. Gangsters, this is my goal. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Great talents. I don't take anything away from them in the future. Just this was not good. It just didn't land.
And like this is another thing. We saw Malik Blade and Idris Enofi backstage. Idris Enofi to me is a great up and coming talent. I get a similar feeling to like a Dolph Ziggler sort of vibe from him, like just the way he wrestles and the way he is in the ring. They're trying to work out a tag team name, and they came up with Brave, Bold, and Confident Team.
I get it. You don't want to breach the copyright of the English television provider. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like they can't go down that road. So
no, it's a copyright legal issue. Yeah.
I love how sold that shit, by the way.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've been either. And then they're talking about what Blade would do if Mandy came in the room. I'm like, okay, this is random. Like, and then she falls in his lap, and he's like, sees her getting beaten. They're like, oh, come on, his mates, come on, let's go watch. Oh, I can't get up. No, come on. He's like, I can't get up. And this is what I'm saying, like the risque, the sexualization that they're sort of starting to implement now in NXT. And it's nothing like too in your face, but it's just that little stuff where kids would go, oh, he can't get up. Or, okay, where adults would go, yeah, we get it. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like that same thing is like the Shrek humor. If you go and see Shrek as a kid, you can sit there and not get the innuendos, but as an adult, you sit there going, what the fuck?
Yeah. Again, I'm going to make excuses for it again because I kind of liked this. It reminded me of like Saved by the Bell. Now, I came in not knowing who these 2 dudes were. I've never seen them wrestle and didn't know their names until you just said them to me right now. So, but I liked them. I liked their interaction, and it was kind of fun. It felt real and natural, like 2 college kids who were kind of like, where do we fit in this world? Mandy Rose played her part great, like kind of fell in, and like she's kind of weirdly like, oh, get off me, kind of, but not over the top. And then Kaylee Ray comes through with the bat. Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass, and she just starts like jumps on her. And then I loved that the guy on the right just got so excited, like someone had just dunked on LeBron. Like he was like, let's go, NXT 2.0 rules. While these 2 women are just like, I kind of got this whole, if you'd replace them with Screech and the head cheerleader in the school fell in his lap and he did that same gimmick, everyone would laugh and you go to ad break. So to me, I was like, that's fun. I got to meet a couple dudes I didn't really know that well, and I thought they were great. So I'm going to keep an eye out for them. So I think it did its job.
I do too. And I have to say this, you mentioned something like a Saved by the Bell scene. And I got a feeling after watching this and listening to the commentators, there were certain things that they were talking about, like certain performers, and it just felt like a teenage fucking like high school drama shit. Certain things, like even like the backstage thing with Persia, Indy, and Dexter Loomis, and then Brooks Jensen coming in. You know what I mean? Like it just got the very, and it's not a diss on any of the performers. It just felt very high schooly, and I'm just like, you're treating these performers like kids, and that's the way that you obviously that whoever's giving them this shit is looking at them going, oh yeah, just give the kids this, and like that's the way that they're sort of being treated. I got the feeling from. I don't know. Did you see that at all, or am I just looking too deep into it?
No, I think there's a definite change in direction from NXT Black and Gold to NXT 2.0, which is that NXT Black and Gold was a featuring of all the indie talent and a real bringing of like, this is a new level of aggression from all over the world, where NXT
Super
2.0
indie.
is, yeah, super indie. They're super indies. Yeah, is really what it was. And then 2.0 is, this is a full-on exposure of a bunch of new talent, new characters. It does feel almost like a reality show. Like, I wish they all just lived in the Performance Academy together, so you could have shots of them like interrupting each other, trying to sleep and stuff, and because it kind of does feel like that.
They actually used to do a show like that. It's on the network called Breaking Ground, and they did like 1 or 2 seasons of it, and they followed like Baron Corbin, Bailey, Sasha Banks, and like that level. And it was one of the best shows on the network. And it's like, I don't know why they didn't renew it. It's like honestly the best show on the network.
It certainly made me understand Baron Corbin more. He just doesn't like anyone. That's just okay. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, because he's just so I look at him and just go, "Wow, this guy seems like he'd be a real dick in person."
I can relate. I mean, we're similar.
Yeah, 100%. But like as I said before, we saw Kaylee Ray driving off. To me, this whole thing just made it even more pointless. Like that scene with her driving off, that could have been scrapped. Yeah. Instead of her driving off, maybe have like the lights go off in the locker room, and next thing you know, poof, poof, and Dolan and Jane are out. You know what I mean?
Or you could have got anyone to help Kaylee Ray, maybe. Like someone else, one of her mates is driving off, and as the car drives off, behind the car, just stand there as Kaylee Ray, and now she's alone. Her friends have been driven away, and now Kaylee Ray's standing right in front. I mean, something like that to keep Kaylee Ray. I agree with you. There is a weird, like, she kidnaps people and then comes back without them. There's a loop there. We found a loophole.
Exactly. But we also we saw LA Knight versus Joe Gacy. Both great in-ring performers. Good match. Waller hitting the rolling cutter out of nowhere. I thought
beautiful.
That was fucking beautiful, spot on. I love that move. Caused by the Sungers causing the distraction. Waller cutting a promo, and this was Maddie Wahlberg. Like, you know what I mean? That's exactly what it was. That promo was my house now. NXT, you know what I mean? Like him sort of stating his claim there, and basically saying if LA Knight can beat Sunger next week, he gets to face Waller, which obviously that's going to happen.
I don't know. Sunger's huge, or Sandwich as I call him for the long form. But yeah, I agree with you. This moment was almost like, there he is. Like we've seen Grayson Waller come out and have shades of what the extents that he had been to in PWA, and how much he can just tell an entire room of people what the reality now is that he's involved. And I don't think we'd seen it in its full force at WWE or NXT until this point. This was the point where he stood over someone and like you said, this is my house now. And I got shades to him screaming that to the likes of Caveman Ugg, screaming that to the likes of his opponents in the Coliseum tournament, which he won. And that moment made me go, there he is. Now we're like full speed ahead now, because he has shown what he can do on a microphone. He's got a big, huge guy next to him who looks terrifying. Yeah. And we're off to the races, baby.
Oh, 100%. Adding, Sunger as a heater for Waller just adds so much more to, you know what I mean? Like gets him so much more, because now he's got someone to hide behind and get heat from even more. I think it's a great addition having him in there. Next, we saw Robert Stone and Von Wagner doing a promo. Do you know who Von Wagner is?
So, yes, I do, because Yeah, he's someone who kind of came through very quickly. I remember there was a four-way early in the 2.0 to decide a challenger, and he kind of got put in last minute because of COVID. And I was like, who's this guy? Interesting. And then he has an interesting face that's very memorable. Only he looks like him in the company, which is a really great thing. It's a real positive. He's huge, and apparently he can wrestle quite well. But what I've seen of him so far is just mauling people and doing stuff. And I've always been a huge fan of Robert Stone. I love Robert Stone. I think he's another great manager, and he has had this amazing journey where he's found talents that have gone on to success, like Aaliyah and the like. But he's never quite found that one big. He's never found his Justin Bieber. Do you know what I mean? As an agent, this could be his Bieber.
I feel this is more of a seriousness to Robert Stone. Like, he's a guy who is an amazing performer. He can go in the ring. If you remember him from TNA back in the day as Robbie E, he can cut a good promo. He knows his character well. I always saw him how they should have done his character as like someone like a Paul Heyman from like the 90s. Whereas that Paulie Dangerously is the guy who's like, making phone calls going, I got you that deal. Yeah, no worries. I'm working on that. Vince, no, I can't talk right now, Vince. Talking about, but using the shoot names of people going, Stephanie, I told you got to hit that number, go and talk to Paul, and stuff like that to really make him look legitimate as a business sort of guy. And I think that doing that with Wagner, this is a perfect pairing because Wagner's a big dude. He's got a unique look to him, but he can't talk for shit. He can't cut a promo. And that's where putting him with someone like Robert Stone, give him his voice while he can just go in there and just destroy people and fuck them up. I think it's a good pairing, and I think that it's going to work out great for both. But it's actually funny that Von Wagner is actually the son of Bo Beverly, who was one of the Beverly brothers back in the WWF days.
There you go, second generation.
Yeah, he was one of the he's one of the Beverleys.
Well, he's good. It makes sense. I mean, he's good.
Yeah, 100%. Then we saw Amari Miller versus Wendy Chu. What do you think of Wendy Chewin versus Amari Miller?
So this is another kind of throwing stuff at the wall kind of idea with Wendy Chu, and seeing the success of something that makes me really happy is the success of comedic wrestling kind of coming back up in some companies. And, Orange Cassidy is a great example of that. And I think this is them trying something. And I'll say this off the bat. I'm really glad, whether it works or it doesn't in the long run, that they tried something like this with her, because she's a great talent, and it could have just been another cultural cliche where she could have just been another Mortal Kombat character or, coming out doing karate moves and stuff. So I like the idea that they're trying to, again, it's to a younger audience, and we need to come to the harsh reality, Piers, that we are not the target audience for the show anymore.
No.
And we need to be okay with that. And I can take myself out of it and say, this is fun for others for this reason. And this is something that I think has legs, but it's just all about who you put her up against, because the idea of being kind of sleepy in a onesie, just like everyone else who's sometimes watching wrestling wearing that, I get the idea that you can relate to that, but it's about who it plays off that is really going to show if it's a success. There's only so far you can go with just being in a onesie.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that it's going to limit to a certain extent, but I like the fact that even the certain things, like when she did the drop down on the leg and she went and then dropped her body down, I thought, you know what, that's kind of creative. Like, that's putting you some fucking thought into what your gimmick is. Like, that's being given a gimmick and then going, how can I try and make this kind of cool?
Yeah.
Like,
she's a champion. She's run with it and done a great job so far. And it kind of almost feels like a New Japan type character, something that Toru Yano or even Honma would play off with, like the falling headbutt is like the sleeping headbutt and all that stuff, and got her in a sleeper hold and stuff. It's great. But where I really think it will shine is if who she plays off and where her voice comes fitting in with the rest of the company, because we have a similar experience in PWA that we have a lot of interesting characters, but it's when they bounce off each other that they really become iconic. So I'm excited to see if they can pull that off with this character, but we'll see. I'm not sure.
It's interesting. See, Amari Miller, I wasn't too impressed with. I wasn't really that. I was like, like, you know what I mean? Like, she didn't really show much personality.
There wasn't a character. It was just kind of, you were there to. It was a match to let you get familiar with Wendy Chu. So
yeah,
I think it did.
No, I think. Yeah. I definitely did. I think you did, and we also saw the Princess Tiffany come out there with the credit card, and Wendy ended up getting away with her daddy's credit card. So,
what's the deal with you guys last week not liking this character?
I liked it.
Oh, maybe so mad.
Chris didn't like it. I put it over. I said I thought it was cool. I thought it was.
She's great.
Different. But you know what? People complained about it because she's like referring to daddy and stuff like that.
Get your minds out of the gutter. She's talking about her father. You guys are ridiculous. And also, it's classic Clueless stuff. You know, like
exactly right. Yeah.
My doctor said I can't take any flying balls to the face. There goes your social life. I mean, this is the kind of lines they're going to have to now have in NXT with such a great character around. I'm fine with it. I love it. I think she's great.
Again, I'm just getting that, and I got the more teenage vibe from the show, like that sort of character is like, you know what I mean? Again, that rich schoolgirl, like that's what I'm getting from her, but I'm also just getting that from a few others. Like even with the Wendy Chu thing, there were certain things they were saying about Wendy, and it was just like, hey, like you just she's not a child, she's a fucking adult. Like, why are you making out like she's 15?
Yeah. It's well, people had a problem with her like sexualizing herself or something, did they?
People were complaining. They were saying like how she's saying like daddy and stuff like that. If it's a play on having sugar daddy and all this other bullshit.
It's clearly a play on Clueless. People need to get their references right, but also not just always look at the negative. I remember when Alexa Bliss started working with Bray Wyatt and hosting the children's show, and people were like, had the same problem. And I'm like, but you didn't have a problem when Bray Wyatt did it. Why is it because you find Alexa Bliss attractive that it's suddenly sexualized? That's coming from you just doing a children's show. So, you know, that's
you put an attractive female in a situation, people are going to sexualize it. And that's, I think, that the way that the world is wired to a certain degree. It's like you see a man and a woman together, automatically you think, okay, sexual connection, married couple, or boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, or de facto, whatever it is, right? You automatically think that. You don't think, hey, that could be two friends walking down the street. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. We just need to be grown adults about it and not like get angry at someone for being a female in a position. Like, you know, it's just get over it, guys. It's fine. Man. Be happy for their success.
But the next bit we're going to talk about, I'm sure you're going to get some joy out of, because it involves Index and Persia. They had a backstage segment. Indy Hartwell, Dexter Lumis, and Persia, talking about Persia's love life and having a thing for, Duke Hudson.
Is this new? Is this a new thing? Was this the first time they mentioned it?
Yeah, this is like one of the first times I've mentioned it. I can't recall it.
I remember she commented on his haircut or something. So maybe it's the second time she's kind of talked about him.
Yeah, like I think they've gradually sort of gone into it. But Brooks Jensen comes in looking for advice from Dexter on how to pick up women, because he's got a thing for one of the Cadence Carter. And then Indy basically tells him, non-verbal communication all the way.
It's great. Dexter Lumis is amazing that he can just glare at everyone and be so funny. What was the young man's name who came in?
Brooks Jensen.
I liked him. He was really immediately likable in this kind of like almost a Hugh Grant version of a guy at a middle Texas trucks like meet. Like he's a Texas Hugh Grant. Oh, sorry, I don't want to. I don't want to get in the way, but I really like this girl, and I like it. It's fun. This is what I'm saying. Like, even though these are little bits for me, because I don't watch the show weekly, it was great to kind of see these characters come and go in this almost Big Brother house type interaction where everyone's just banging into each other backstage. It's quite, I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a cool vibe. And I think that, like, who knows, man, they could do a show called Wrestler House, and like it'd be extra show for the network. But Either way, I thought it was an enjoyable little segment, even at the end when he's like, "That's the hot tub look," and he looks at Persia and she's like, "Yeah, no, I'm into someone else." I'm just
Yeah, it
like,
clearly wasn't the hot tub look because
yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, great hot tub look, so good.
But that comes up to the main event: Bron Breakker versus Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa versus Legado del Fantasma. Rose, what do you think of this match?
Yeah, interesting because it's always tough when the narrative is two big stars are teaming together for this period of time, and the eyes are very much on the other side of the ring. But Del Fantasma are such a great group together that they draw your eyes towards them and stuff. On a personal level, we were talking about old TNA and Yarkwood Wild. He was in TNA, correct?
Yeah, he was. That's right. Joaquin Wild. He was DJZ.
DJZ, that's right.
Yeah, but he also went under. He was Zima Ion. Zima Ion was his original name, and then he went to DJZ.
I remember, one of the first times I ever watched TNA, I saw DJZ as one of the first wrestlers because he'd do the opening matches, and I just loved him. I've always kind of had this weird thing about him. So I'm very happy to see him in NXT succeeding as part of this tag team and stuff. So it's all really good stuff. But the narrative here is all around Ciampa and Bron Breakker. So, the eyes are on kind of one half of the ring. So the narrative took away from what could be a banger match, really.
I thought like Legado del Fantasma to me, like Raul Mendoza, Joaquin Wild, and also I just forgot her name. What's her name? I'm sure someone in the comments can tell me.
Chris will know. He's a huge fan.
Yeah. What's her name? Oh fuck! I've got it. I had it written down. I say it.
Someone will have it. Watch the comments. Will nail.
Yeah, the comments are gonna nail me for this one. But even you're seeing Escobar as well. Just amazing talents. These guys, like Escobar, is another guy who I think Electra Lopez. Thank you, Robert. I think this stable is honestly one of the best in WWE right now, and I think the whole gimmick behind it, the Santos Escobar gimmick, like almost like that, you know what I mean? Like the cartel leader sort of thing. Like, we do this shit on my time. Like, he's very, like, for a small guy, he demands like a lot of almost like respect and stuff. You see how he carries himself. I think it's great. I think he definitely does deserve a main event push. He's been there for a long time. They've had great matches. One thing I like about Legado is they can do all the high flying. They can jump all over this shit. They can roll into the ring and all that stuff. It's great. They can do it, but they do it when it makes sense. They don't do it just to get their shit in. They do it because it makes sense in the match, in the story that they're telling. It never looks out of place. And that's where I find like a lot of performers with the similar styles are like, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Yep. Okay, cool. I've got it in. Where these guys, it's very fluid with them.
Yeah. They, their ring IQ is clearly really, really high. And they're all at the top of their game. Like you said, Raul Mendoza just does some crazy stuff and makes it look really, really easy. And just like that first match on this show, the timing is just there with this team. It never feels like things are out of control. And also the outfit, Escobar's jacket, amazing. The white jacket with the gold trim and his old mask on the side of it and stuff. Amazing. Just loved it. But there was a moment in this match that broke my heart, Piers. And I don't know if you remember this, but it burned into the back of my brain. It was the last big spot in the match, the jump off the top through the table.
Yes.
Raul Mendoza. And the commentators, who I was really enjoying the whole show, do you remember what he yelled when he dived off the top rope?
Oh. No,
he yelled, incoming, at the top of his voice as Mendoza went through the table.
Wild.
And I thought, was it Wild, was it?
Yeah, it was
and I immediately
wild.
thought, there goes my catchphrase. Because that's what I yell. I yell incoming when they dive off the top rope all the time at shows. And then he did it. He did it on NXT. So I wonder.
They stole your shit, bro.
Are they watching PWA? Are they
you know what?
enjoying our
If
content?
I were you, go call him out on Twitter. Be
Oh,
like,
look,
"Hey,
my
fella."
camera's gone fuzzy. This is a conspiracy. This is WWE doing this.
Yeah, MWA Podcast Network is about to get shadow banned. But yeah, look, I thought it was a great match. It definitely served its purpose. Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa left standing, but I also like the fact that Santos Escobar is like I'm involved here, but I'm involved when I say I'm involved, and like you know what I mean, like typical really good heel work, and that's the thing that you see with heels nowadays. It's like they skirt that line of being a tweener. It's like they want to get a baby face reaction, but they want to be a cool heel. He does that sort of shit because he's like, you get close, fuck you. And that's to the audience, right? Because it's like, yeah, we're going to see him get his ass kicked. Nah, fuck you, I'm going to bounce. Like, that's the way that it's like you build that momentum. Is like, now I really want to see Breaker grab that little fucker and like throw him around the ring.
Yeah, and we've all talked about it. We don't just go into again about how explosive Bron Breakker is and how, like, of all the people we've talked about bright futures, Bron's got it. He's just got it, and he's someone we'll be using this footage in 5-10 years about where he started in NXT and stuff, and that multicolored, outfit and stuff, and where he will be in 10 years. And there's no doubt about it. He's got success written all over him. But I think for a show that was essentially built to promote other shows, I mean, let's be honest, there wasn't anything that kind of really changed the narrative this show besides Persia Pirotti's got a crush on Duke Hudson, and Cora Jade is going to tag with old mate for the Dusty tag tournament. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there wasn't any takeaways from this show, really.
No, it was a build show to, obviously they got that Vengeance Day in 2 weeks. So in saying that, I kind of enjoyed myself, even though this was a build show. Bron is 24, insanity.
Yeah, I mean, that is insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also got to see next week Mandy Rose for the NXT Women's Championship. I don't see Mandy losing this title anytime soon, to be honest. But
no, she can't even take a cake to the face. She's that indestructible. Did you see when she went with her with the cake? We didn't even talk about that segment. And Mandy Rose put her hands up like she was taking a chair shot to the head and didn't take any cake at all. So you can't even get cake on Mandy Rose.
You got to take the cake shot, man. I think that's a outrage.
Take the cake shot. I mean,
take the cake shot, exactly. But guys, that has been NXT Roundup for this week. We much appreciate everyone who's tuned in live and everyone who's tuned in after the fact on any podcast platform, wherever you're finding us, any podcast platform, YouTube, Twitch. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, like, comment, all that good stuff. Leave us a 5-star review. Let us know that you're watching. Let us know that you enjoy it. But also, guys, make sure you go and check out our amazing sponsors, healthvape.com and sleeps.com. Use those promo codes MWAPOD and get a 10% discount on your final purchases. But Rose, thank you very much for joining me for NXT Roundup. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And, mate, I'd love to have you on again for the show anytime that you're available.
Mate, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I always enjoy talking these things with you, and I'm more than happy to come on anytime as long as Chris Gale's not anywhere in the vicinity of the state where we do it.
Well, introducing now your cut. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God. I was just about to hit leave so quickly.
But guys, make sure you go and hit that subscribe button. And also tomorrow night, guys, at 9 p.m., I'm sitting down with Australian wrestling legend who started his career in the 1970s, Mr. Ken the Dazzler Dunlop. So make sure you tune into that show. It is going to be a must-see show, guys. So make sure you tune in for that. But until next time, guys, I'm Piers. This is Rose, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Peace.